The conference room is closed. Vendors wait outside. The door clicked shut 3 inches from her face. Richard didn't look up when he said it. He was already turning his back, already laughing at something the CFO whispered. Names echoed through the glass, her name among them, said like a punchline. Amara's hand tightened around the blue folder. The folder had the company's crest. The crest had her signature under it. A security guard started walking over. The lobby receptionist peered over the desk. The clock above them all ticked toward 1000 a.m. "Ma'am, deliveries go around back," the guard said. He sounded tired. He looked at her shoes, not her eyes. Amara checked her watch. 9:55. Her phone buzzed. A message from legal. "We're staged. Your call." She typed one word. "Now." Behind the glass, the board laughed. Her CFO, Todd, was grinning with his whole face. The VP of sales was chest-bumping someone like it was a sports bar, not a boardroom. They had coffee, they had croissants, they had it all planned. "Ma'am." The receptionist asked, "What firm did you say you're with again?" Amara turned her head. He was young, nervous. His name badge read Nick. "Give me 5 minutes," she said, calm as a blank page. He blinked, unsure. The security guard shifted his weight. A janitor pushed a cart out of the hallway. He saw her, saw the blue folder, saw the door. He nodded like he understood without anyone knowing what. His name tag said Ruiz. "You want me to wait?" he asked her quietly. She smiled, small. "No, just be nearby." He parked his cart against the wall. He stayed. Amara set the folder on the edge of the reception desk. She didn't pace. She didn't fidget. Her eyes went to the glass. Inside, Richard, the chairman, smacked the table with an open palm. "Time," he said. "Let's keep it tight. We're moving on her today." Todd leaned in. "She won't see it coming," he said. "She'll be early like she always is. We'll make her wait." They laughed again. Nick heard it. His eyes darted to Amara. He turned pale. Her phone buzzed a second time. "Lena, proxy filings confirmed. Certificates reissued. HR is ready." Amara's thumb hovered. She lifted her gaze, met Nick's eyes, and gave him a nod that said he was going to be okay. At exactly 1000, the hallway lights flicked twice. The badge reader next to the conference room flashed from green to red to blue. The security guard's walkie crackled. "All access updated. Go code Sapphire. Repeat Sapphire," he straightened. "Sapphire." Another voice cut in. A woman's firm. "New instructions, James. Miss Cole is to be escorted wherever she wants to go. If anyone impedes her, you call me. Lieutenant Nyong, Plaza Security." The guard looked at Amara like he'd never seen her before. "Miss Cole." She lifted the blue folder just a little. 5 minutes, she said again, then stepped forward. The automatic lock on the glass door released with a soft snick. She pushed it open. Inside, the laughter stopped. Richard stared at her like the room had rotated. He recovered fast. "We're in executive session," he said. "You can wait outside." Todd swiveled in his chair, that grin faltering. "Yeah," he said. "We'll call you." Amara set the folder on the table dead center. "No," she said. "You won't." She clicked the remote next to the speakerphone. The wall screens woke up. 6 signatures appeared on the biggest one. The names were not theirs. The receptionist, Nick, stood frozen just inside the door. Mr. Ruiz leaned his mop against the wall. The security guard hovered like a shadow. Amara didn't take a seat. "Before we start," she said, "some housekeeping." She pointed at Todd. "CFO Branson, effective 5 minutes ago, you were terminated for cause. You received the letter at 957, refused to leave, and it's trespassing." Todd laughed a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. "You can't." "Elaine Baxter," Amara said without looking at him. "Head of HR, you're done too. Complaints ignored. Investigations buried. You signed paperwork you didn't read. Legalized cruelty. Your letter hit at 958. Elaine's hand went to her necklace. "What is this?" "Cameron Phelps," she said, VP of Sales. "Phantom Pipelines. Side deals with shell vendors you control. You stole $3.1 million. Your letter hit at 959. Cameron's chair scraped back. "That's not." "Sit," she said. He sat. She turned to Richard. She didn't raise her voice. "As for you, Mr. Hale," she said, "you've chaired a board you no longer sit on. These signatures." She pointed at the screen again. "They replaced you." It took a heartbeat for the words to land, then another, then the room exploded. "You don't have votes," Richard said. His face flushed pink, then red. "You don't have them. We locked you out of the fund. We voted last night." The remote clicked again. A spreadsheet filled the wall. Share percentages, proxies, a timestamp from 33 minutes earlier. "Laguna Partners sold to the Employees Trust," Amara said. "This morning, at a discount. Maybe call your managing partner." He finally answered someone's phone. Todd's smile was gone. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Elaine's phone buzzed. She looked down. Then she looked up at Amara, panic blooming. I didn't know, she said. Richard told us. What he told you, Amara said, is his problem. What you did is yours. The door swung, and Lena, the company's general counsel, walked in with a folder of her own. Her hair was tied back. She placed notarized papers on the table one by one like cards, resolutions, consents. A certificate from the Secretary of State with a blue ribbon. Good morning, Lena said. As of 9:50 a.m., Ms. Cole holds majority voting control through the Employee Trust and the Founders' Protective Provisions reinstated after the Q3 milestone. The board has been reconstituted. You can argue with your lawyers, but you'll need to do it outside. Richard pointed at the door like he was casting a spell. Security, he snapped. Remove them. Lieutenant Nyong was already in the doorway. She didn't move. Her badge caught the light. Sir, she said, our contract is with the company and the building's owner. Orders are to facilitate Miss Cole. Richard laughed again, but the sound cracked. I am the building's. No, Lena said. Your brother is. And the mortgage owned by First Meridian was sold last Thursday, then securitized to Asterian Property Holdings, a subsidiary of this company, which Miss Cole controls. It hit like a second slap. Silence took the room by the throat. From the lobby, a faint applause started and then died as people realized where they were. Employees were stopped by a line of guards at the hallway. Everyone heard something. No one knew what they were hearing. Amara didn't turn to the glass. She kept her eyes on the four faces that had made her life small for months, that had turned her wins into noise. Sit, she said to Richard. Her voice was soft and made of steel. Let's talk, he sat. 2 weeks earlier, she'd found the first thread. It was a Monday night. The office was empty. A light was on in finance. She didn't like surprises, so she walked in. A contractor's invoice lay on the copier, forgotten, still warm. The vendor name was unfamiliar. 12 Oaks Consulting. What looked wrong wasn't the amount. It was the address. Her eyes found it without thinking, a P.O. box in a town where Cameron had bought a lake house. She took the invoice. She cross-checked. 12 Oaks had 3 more, then 6. $287,000, then $800,000, $1 million, $1,000,005. The services were vague. Pipeline enhancement, strategic outreach. The approvals, Todd's initials, Elaine's sign-off, no RFPs, no deliverables attached. Her face didn't change. Her stomach did. She called Lena. Bring your serious eyes, she said. They spread the invoices like cards on a floor. Lena got quiet. She started making lists. She started pulling emails. She called HR under a pretext and asked for a things no one reads report. She found 6 harassment claims buried under phrasing that made the complainants sound like problems, not people. The next day, Amara walked into a stand-up and saw Cameron telling 3 reps that their deals weren't theirs, that they belonged to someone else now, that quotas got heavier when the numbers were good. He said it with a grin like it was a joke they were all in on. She watched a rep's face fall. She looked at his hands shaking. She felt herself breathe. At lunch, she asked the rep's name. He told her. She asked him to send her the emails. He did. She forwarded them to Lena. That afternoon, she stopped at the lobby and asked Nick how long he'd been there. 3 weeks, he said, eyes bright like anyone's on a 3rd week at a new job. He said he liked the coffee machine. He said his mom asked him every day if anyone was nice to him. Are they? Amara asked. He looked at the floor. Mostly, he said. Sometimes, it depends. On her way to the elevator, Mr. Ruiz caught up with her. He said the bathrooms on 5 had a leak. He said the job would take the night. He said he would lock up. She asked him his family's names. He said them soft, like he was embarrassed to be so sentimental in a lobby. He cracked a joke about his daughter's soccer team being better managers than the execs here. She laughed. He didn't ask her for anything. He just wanted her to know he was there. On Wednesday, the board met without her. They called it an ad hoc strategy review. They didn't invite the CEO. Someone forwarded her the agenda. Succession. On Thursday, she went to Laguna Partners. She sat across from a managing partner with tired eyes and a folder of excuses. She placed the 12 Oaks invoices on the table and didn't say anything for 20 seconds. He forgot to breathe. When he did, he asked what she wanted. A clean exit, she said. Today. On Friday, she met with a union rep from the building's security firm. She pushed to switch vendors. She asked for Lieutenant Nyong by name because she'd heard about her from a friend who said she didn't miss much. Nyong didn't. On Saturday, she wrote a letter to the team. She didn't send it. She changed a few words until it said something she could live with on the worst day. She printed it and put it in her bag. On Sunday, she saw her mother. They sat on the porch as the sun tipped down. Her mother asked if she was ready. The question sounded like every big decision Amara had ever made: college, the first job, the first resignation. Her mother poured tea. "It's not about being tough," she said. "It's about being clear." On Monday, 9:50 a.m., the filings cleared. At 9:55, the board told her to wait outside. At 1002, she had them where they couldn't pretend anymore. Back in the room, Todd stood up, chair legs screeching. He slapped the table in a bad impression of power. "You think this sticks," he said. "You're a DEI photo op who got lucky. You got a quarter. Congratulations. You won Twitter points. You won LinkedIn applause. You don't even know how this game works." Amara didn't look at him. She looked at the VP of sales. "Cameron," she said, "want to explain 12 Oaks." He opened his mouth. He closed it. He reached for his phone. He scrolled like the right text would save him. "Don't," Lena said. "IT has your backups. Also, you texted your wife from the company phone. Hi, Summer." Cameron's hand froze. He swallowed. Elaine leaned forward, eyes shiny. "We can make this right," she said. "I can. You had 2 years to make things right," Amara said. "You made them invisible." Richard tried a different angle. He put on fatherly voice. He used her first name like they were close, like he had paid her tuition. "Amara," he said, "let's be smart. You don't want to be the story here. It's not a good look." Mr. Ruiz coughed. It wasn't a cough. It was a laugh he couldn't help. Amara finally sat. She kept the blue folder in front of her. "You wrote a succession memo on Thursday," she said to Richard. "You called me an optics problem. You said I was abrasive when pressed and thin on relationships." She flipped a page. "You wrote that the company suffered from executive fatigue under current leadership. You, who don't work here, are tired." Richard's mouth tightened. "You missed a line," Amara said. "You missed the one where customers grow, where our product finally works at scale, where our people do miracles for less money than their competitors." She looked at each of them. "You're not fired because I'm thin on relationships. You're fired because you failed at yours." Outside the glass, more people had gathered. Their faces were careful. Everyone had phones in their pockets and restraint in their hands. Amara tapped the blue folder. "These are the cause packages." "There's no severance. There are clawbacks," she said. "IT disabled your accounts at 9:59. Give your badges to LT Nyong. Take your personal items. A facility officer will escort you." "You will regret this," Todd said, but it sounded small and old. "We'll sue." Lena's smile barely moved. "You will. The discovery phase will be educational." Elaine stood, hands shaking. "Can we talk?" she said. "Just us." Amara paused. She thought of a young woman in accounting who had cried in a bathroom stall after an ad hoc meeting Elaine called late on a Friday to tell her she was too spicy for the floor. She thought of the complaint, the words "no corroboration," typed in a tone that felt like a door. "No," she said, "we are not doing the whisper thing." Someone knocked on the glass. It was Nick, the receptionist. He looked like he'd swallowed a lightning bolt. "Miss Cole," he said, hesitant. "There's the floor. They're all kind of—" He trailed off. He didn't know the word. "Waiting," Mr. Ruiz supplied. Amara nodded. "Give me 5 minutes." "Again," Nick said, smiling for the first time. "Again." Richard pushed his chair back. "This is chaos," he said. "This is not how companies are run." Amara stood. "You're right," she said. "They're run like this, by people who remember who works here and who forget who owns what." She picked up the blue folder. She paused at the door and looked at the security guard. "James," she said, "please escort Mr. Hale, Mr. Branson, Miss Baxter, and Mr. Phelps to collect their personal belongings. No stops, no speeches." James nodded, firm now that the lines were clear. "Yes, ma'am." Todd tried one last thing. He turned to the window and waved at the crowd. "This is unfair," he said, voice rising. "We built this place," someone in the hall said, not loud but not quiet. "No, we did." Amara stepped into the lobby. The sound clicked and swelled as the floor understood. It wasn't applause, exactly. It was relief turned into something with hands. She didn't soak it up. She raised a palm and it softened. "Back of house," she said to Lieutenant Nyong. "Please send someone with Mr. Ruiz to fix that leak on 5. We had a plumbing issue Friday." Nyong nodded, surprised and professional. "On it." Amara looked at Nick. He looked like he might cry from adrenaline. She dropped her voice. "You did fine," she said. "You followed rules you were given." "You didn't know." He started to apologize. She stopped him with a small shake of her head. Training starts today, she said. New handbook. We respect the people walking in. If someone tells you to disrespect them, send them to me. Yes, he said. Yes, of course. An intern with a messy bun and a stack of binders held them like they would explode. She had that intern bravery that looks a lot like terror. She said her name was Priya. She said she had the Q4 roadmap. She said she didn't know where to put it. Conference C, Amara said. 10 minutes. She turned to the glass. The four were being walked past the glass toward the elevators. Cameron's jaw was set like defiance. Elaine was whispering fast to a phone that wasn't connected anymore. Todd kept glancing up like cameras might be in the ceiling. Richard stared at a point in the middle distance like this was beneath him. Mr. Ruiz met her eyes. You good? He asked again, like a habit. She exhaled. Now I am, she said. He started to wheel his cart away. She stopped him with his name. Mr. Ruiz, she said. You've been running this building since before any of us had keycards. Anyone ever ask you how to make it work better? He smiled without looking up. No one important. Wrong, she said. Report to facilities tomorrow at 8. New title, new pay. You're the director if you want it. He looked up then. His mouth opened and then closed, the way a man's mouth does when he's swallowing news that presses against years. He nodded once, twice, like he needed his body to agree. You got it, he said. Amara looked down the hallway. People were waiting on marks they couldn't see. She could feel the weight of them, the hope swarming around shock. The question people ask on Mondays after bad Fridays, are we safe? Are we seen? She held up the letter she wrote on Saturday, not like a prop, but like a bridge. She tore it open. She read. Team, she said. 5 things. 1, leadership changes today. You'll meet your new board this afternoon. 2, if you did the work, you keep your job. If you back the work, we'll back you. 3, if you were harmed here by word or deed, we're listening and we're paying attention with money, not just statements. 4, if you were quiet because it was easier, it won't be easier now, but it will be better. 5, our customers don't care about our drama. They care about what we ship. We ship better when we're not bleeding morale. People didn't cheer then. They breathed. That was better. A woman from accounting raised her hand. Do we still have one-on-ones? She asked, like she'd been trained to live inside details to survive disasters. We do, Amara said. Today, some will be with me. She put the letter down and rolled her shoulders like you do after a fight you didn't start but had to finish. Lena appeared at her elbow. Press, she asked. In an hour, Amara said. Right now, go to payroll. Make sure severance switches are set for non-cause layoffs we talked about. We don't make anyone bleed for the sins of the 4. On it, Lena said. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. Todd stepped in and faced out. For a second, he and Amara were 2 people who would never have a conversation again. He opened his mouth because that's who he was. Good luck, he said, dripping sarcasm, like luck had anything to do with it. Amara thought of the billing clerk who fixed a customer's problem at midnight. She thought of the data scientist who slept on the office couch during the breach. She thought of the janitor who asked, "You good?" without making it a performance. Luck favors the prepared, she said. You wouldn't recognize it. The doors closed. The floor exhaled again. By noon, the new board sat. 3 chairs were filled by people you could confuse for staff if you didn't know the industry. An operations lifer from a competitor who respected warehouse workers enough to know their names. A founder who had survived and turned a loss into a teacher, and a customer who had paid on time for 11 quarters and sent back harsh feedback with love attached. They didn't take the big seats like thrones. They took them like chairs. By 2, HR felt different. Half the department went quiet. The half that had been drowned out found their voices. A woman who had been moved to a windowless corner back in April rolled her chair into a conference room like it was a parade. She hugged people she had only emailed for months. By 5, the legal filings had more signatures. The 12 Oaks money started coming back. Cameron's lake house listed at a loss in a market that didn't care about his tears. At 8, most people went home. A small circle didn't. They sat with takeout. They made lists. They debugged a pipeline. They adjusted a bonus plan. They ate cold noodles like a sacrament. At 10, the lights on 5 were off. Mr. Ruiz stood at the door, keys in hand, and watched, smiling small, like someone who had seen buildings owned by men who never knew a custodian's name. He clocked out. He took a photo of his new badge. After midnight, the building was quiet again. The blue folder was empty. The next morning, a headline would try to make it something else. It would talk about a shake-up, like a smoothie poured into a cup, like people weren't involved. It would call her the Black CEO before it called her successful. It would frame it like a fight between classes of people instead of what it was, accountability with a pulse. What people would tell each other mattered more. They would say the boss didn't gloat. They would say she looked tired, not triumphant, like she understood that the victory lap comes after results, not after removals. They would say she didn't make herself the story, even when the cameras came. They would say she stood in the lobby where they'd told her to wait outside and opened the doors instead. Later that week, a delivery driver showed up early with pastries from a baker who worked nights. The guard told him to wait. Then he looked at his checklist and saw a small note. Respect people's time and roles. If they're early and they're helping, find a way. He opened the door instead. On a Friday in Q4, Richard's lawyer sent an email with a subject line that screamed. Lena replied with one sentence and a PDF. On a Tuesday in Q1, the team shipped a release that didn't break in production. A customer wrote back, "You listened." It was the only word that mattered. On a Sunday afternoon, Amara sat on her mother's porch again. They didn't talk about the board. They talked about the onion bed that refused to behave, about the dog that kept creating schedules for the household and enforcing them with a stare. Her mother poured tea. "Clear," she said, like a benediction. Amara smiled and let herself remember the door closing in her face. They'd told her to wait outside. She had for 5 minutes. Then she opened it from the other side and held it while the wrong people walked out.